Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Janae, aka YayorNayyy. Today I'm bringing you along another skin journey that I had to overcome. I really have a feeling that God be choosing me as one of his strongest soldiers to handle and to heal from skin issues. I don't know why it's like that, but let me walk y'all through what I went through in 2023, okay? Unlike my skin explosion that happened 2 years ago, that was brought on by the onset of cystic acne, maybe some leaky gut issues triggered by my mental health, some anxiety, some depression. This actually wasn't acne. This was something else, and I had no idea what it was until months after I was suffering alone. Let me tell you a little bit about something called perioral dermatitis. So what perioral dermatitis is, it is a form of a skin rash that is brought on by a damaged skin barrier. It means that it's a rash around the mouth and nose. Our skin needs moisture just like our body needs moisture and hydration to survive. At first I thought it was another case of cystic acne because I'm not new to that, and what really had me thinking that it was another case of acne was that it started in the same spot that I've experienced the same kind of breakout before. And in hindsight, I'm thinking that I may have had little flare-ups of this in the past and thought it was acne, but it actually wasn't acne. Especially when it comes to black people or brown people who have melanated skin, it can very much look like acne, but in my case, it wasn't acne. I thought it was, but it wasn't. Keep walking with me here. This initial flare-up began in April of 2023. It was very small, some irritation, but because I have dealt with dealing with cystic acne or inflamed skin, I just continued to use my normal skincare products that I've had. A lot of the products that I use were created to help fight acne, but unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that that was going to be, it's going to be an op. It ended up turning to be an op. From April through September, my skin went from having just a small patch of a breakout to then breaking out around my mouth and up and through my nose. Around the time of May, June, when it started to spread from that one spot all the way into my nose, at this point I'm experiencing it being itchy, red, inflamed, it's peeling. None of the products that I have are using, in fact, is making it worse. I'm waking up every day with hopes that something would give. It really looked like cysts, but it wasn't. I was at my wit's end mid-August when I finally hit up my OG esthetician to help me. I remember driving to her suite crying because I just had had enough and I was over it. I also still had a very sore spot about my grandmother passing, which was something that I also had to endure while dealing with this big skin rash. Seeing people accepting grievances for people, like 2023 was a ghetto mess, okay? I get to my esthetician and I'm laid down, the bed is warm, and she's looking at my skin and she says to me, she says, "Janae," I say, "Yes." "What is this?" And she says, "I'm afraid, one, I am not a dermatologist, so I can't diagnose you with this, but this looks like it could be something called perioral dermatitis, and unfortunately it's nothing that I can do, and also it's going to take months for it to heal." Like I said, I already was crying. I didn't have any more tears left in me, but like, she knew that I just evaporated into her bed. Like I had nothing left. Like, what kind of news was that? I didn't understand, and so she began to show me pictures, and she made it known to me that because I am melanated, and in most cases when it comes to people who experience this that have melanated skin, it is often misdiagnosed as acne, especially because images compared to whiter skin, you can actually see the redness in the skin, whereas most times in black skin, I mean, inflammation looks different in melanated skin unless you have more lighter skin. I had to swallow that pill because I just didn't know. And she really had me when she said it would take months, because what does that even mean? She told me any of the products that I'm using, it could be triggered by toothpaste, dental products, dental procedures, nasal sprays. It could be triggered by environmental factors. It could be triggered by stress. All these things that are very much outside of our control. But I could just think about, in hindsight, all of the things that I could check off that list. For one, allergy season had just passed, and so I did get prescribed nasal spray as well as some oral antihistamine, and I was using the nasal spray actively. So that was number one. Two, toothpaste. So I can only imagine how the nasal spray and maybe toothpaste that has strongest amount of fluoride in them, how that maybe could have all kinds of chemical imbalance. When I think about these things, it really makes me think and gets me not upset, but I don't know, it takes me back about how much control we do not have when it comes to everyday products. Yes, we can make conscious decisions, but it's very important to know what ingredients go inside these products, how your body is going to respond, whether it's the short term or long term. But again, a lot of these things we can't control. Also, in 2023, I'm on the East Coast. We experienced wildfires, the smoke, like so much free radicals were just in the air. I can not imagine how stressed my skin was, on top of the internal stress that I was dealing with. And then I also had to get an oral procedure done. I had to get anesthesia, and there was some drilling that happened, and I definitely believe that caused some contact triggering. I was happy that she shed light on that so I could do my own research. And after I left, I had basically stripped my whole vanity of everything that I had. I let her pick out some products for me that she knew would work. So I had some very, very sensitive, non-fragranted skin wash. I had hydrating masks, and I may have brought on some like hydrochloric acid toners and serums. I began to use a lot of fresh aloe leaf, especially in the beginning when I had a control on the healing process. And I took it a step further, where I knew that I was going to have to do some internal healing. I'm never not going to do that, especially when it comes to skin, because if it's one thing that we know or should know, is skin is going to reflect what's going on the inside. And so sometimes the skin might be the last thing to take a hit, and so when it comes out, it's gross and it seems like it's uncontrollable. So I knew that I had to get to the source. After I left my esthetician, she suggested that I contact a dermatologist. At the time I didn't have one, so I searched for one, and when I finally found one, this is August, by the way, I didn't have my appointment until Halloween, so I knew I had to do something. It was going to be up to me to do this. I had the appointment, but I still was working with my esthetician. And shout out to I call them my holistic triad of folks, because they really held me down. Shout out to Roxy at 10 Skyn. I then consulted my juice fan for More Life Juice, and I let my friend Nicole know what was going on. I'm not new to them either. I've done their juice cleanses before, but I just, really made sure that they knew what was going on and what my intention was. Throughout the summer, I made it a thing to do juice cleanses. I know for sure I started out with a 5-day juice cleanse. I probably had another 1 or 3-day juice cleanse, and then I would just buy juices throughout the summer. Also, I consulted Diamond, the owner of Earths 11, which is a holistic and herbal supplement company, and she formulates and makes her own herbal supplements for all kinds of ailments. I hit her up in the DMs. I let her know what was going on. It was something that she had never heard of, but I gave her all the information from my esthetician as well as my own research, and so she gave me some suggestions on what products I should use for her. So I locked in for about 2 months doing the juice cleanse, the supplement. Diamond suggested that along with her supplements that I do a 5 to 10 day fruit cleanse, but that worked out perfectly because I was already doing the juice cleanse, and because Diamond said fruit, I mean, I would add some solid fruits to my diet during that time. But Diamond started me out with doing a Canada cleanse, and because I was already juicing, that was already a detox within itself. So the Canada cleanse lasted about 10 days, and I began to notice a difference within my face. Things started to calm down significantly. The appearance of it was still there, but you can tell that it's between the aloe, the supplements, the juicing, the cleansing, and the calming products, my skin began to calm down, which was a great sight. But then it pains me that I had to get another dental procedure on the other side of my face, which essentially catapulted it, I want to say, worse if not all over again. And I would say that it pained me because we all started to see visible progress in my skin, but once I got that procedure done, and it's crazy because the left side of my face was fine, but once the procedure happened, I had a huge I don't even know what they're not cysts, but a huge inflammation right around the area that the dentist put the anesthesia in. And after doing the work, about a day or two, not even a day, probably 2 or 3 days after, it just started to like crescent from the left back over to the right. And I was mad. At that point, I probably was midway done with not just the juice cleanse, but like really into the supplements. The skincare products were working, and so I just was like, well, what am I supposed to do now? And I just had to keep going. I couldn't stop. So I let my herbalist know what was going on. I kept photos, and at a point I did disappear from both my esthetician and my herbalist because they were asking for updates, and at that point things had just reversed. And so I felt ashamed, and I felt like I couldn't, I mean, I could, but I didn't want to. But you know, it was hard for me to come back around after, you know, having good progress for 3 weeks, and then it just like it backtracked. So that's not uncommon, especially when it comes to healing in general. Like, we're going to backtrack. I ordered another juice cleanse around the juice cleanse, and I just had to just really stick to it. That's probably when I decided to get on TikTok and see what the girls were talking about on TikTok. I can't remember the creator's name, but I found during the time she was studying, she dealt with perioral dermatitis. Her skin did not look like mine, but she had dealt with perioral dermatitis, but also she was going to school to be an esthetician. And so there was a little bit of gap between her personal incident and her professional track. So during that time of her trying to find something that worked for her, she suggested something called Canada cream. And Canada is a type of flower that has a lot of calming, soothing, antibacterial, and moisturizing properties. So you can find that at your local drugstore in the first aid section. And so that was the first topical type of product that I had purchased for myself outside of what the esthetician had given me and outside of the aloe vera that I was using. I was also icing as well. The cream really began to expedite the healing process. And so once I saw that, I kind of began to cocktail what it is that I had and you know, what it is I had just got, but I also still wanted to be very careful because I can admit I'm a product junkie. So I really didn't want to go above and beyond my limits, because my limits were no fragrance, sensitive skin only, gentle, and even then I still had to be very, very careful, because if I introduce something new, it could trigger it, or it could just irritate it more, and I was over it. So I was happy that the Calendula cream worked. During this time, it is now September, I also went to Houston to go see Beyonce, and I'm not gonna lie, I swear that girl, she had a hand in healing my skin, because it wasn't until after I saw her that things started working in my favor. While I was on my trip, my friends and I, we were at the mall, and of course we stopped into Sephora, and that was when I first had the opportunity to buy Topicals, the brand Topicals. And so I saw the like butter product, and I read it, and I thought that it would be helpful. And this is mainly because prior to me coming on the trip, another product that I got, or brand that helped, was Aveeno. Just released a new collection called the Calm and Restore collection, and all of their products were for sensitive skin, no fragrance, and was formulated with oatmeal. So I knew after using those products for a while, giving them a chance, I noticed that, you know what, I forget that oatmeal is the secret to healing black people's skin. So you always hear about the oatmeal baths. So that was something that, you know, rang a familiar bell to me. When I picked up the Topicals during that time and I read what was in it and I saw the oatmeal, I said, you know what, this brand line for sensitive skin and for flare-ups, for people like eczema and skin rash, let me give this a try. And so throughout my trip in Houston, I had to also be very conscious about the sun and just heat damage and just making it through the rest of the summer, honestly. Not necessarily avoiding the sun, but reducing my sun exposure. But alongside that, I would keep that calendula cream, that like butter, and even some moisturizer spray on me, baby. Okay, every hour or so I would be applying something, and even my hydrating mask from my esthetician, I would put it on at night, and I would top it with the calendula cream. And I swear that was probably like the most magical thing, was to wake up the next morning and my skin was like even better than the day before. But the Topicals, baby, to this day, I keep that thing on me. If it isn't quite obvious, this experience has definitely made me a Topicals fan. It ain't no shame in my game, baby. Oh, and then not to mention, I finally made it to the dermatologist. Freaking Halloween, and my skin was just clear. I knew they was gonna be like, girl, why is you here? And I just had to tell them. All I had was pictures. But nah, here I am today, looking a lot better and not frazzled by my skin having a disruptive skin barrier. If this is something that you're going through and not really realizing, please take your time and maybe talk to a dermatologist, your PCP or esthetician, or even look up something. I have to admit, it was pretty difficult looking up other cases like mine with people with black skin. It was very hard. So that's why I felt like it was very important for me to come once I got into a more stabilized, healed part of this journey, to let you all know that if you're dealing with this, you don't have to deal with it alone. And so yeah, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. I will do my best to be of assistance to you. But I hope that this video was helpful, and yeah, it's crazy out here and you really gotta protect your skin, especially now. I didn't think that, you know, summer, like having damaged skin in the summer would I don't know, would terrify me the way it did, because I would think that having damaged skin in the winter was more of a thing. But hey, it could be anybody. So take care of your skin. Do not overuse your skin products. Make sure you're wearing sunscreen. Make sure you're moisturizing daily, especially as the cold temperatures are here. And take care of your insides. So I hope that this video was helpful and shed some light on some things. And it was also good catching up. Bye.